Okay. Very good morning, everyone. Welcome back for today's lecture on international economic institutions and agreements. In the earlier or the last lecture, we have seen and understood with respect to the various economic institutions at the international level. So, what are the various types of institutions that are governing their business activities and controlling their activities or trade or the international monetary activities? We have seen the concept and origin of GATT, that is General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. We have seen with the WTO. We have seen IMF, G20, G7, and so on. So all these particular institutions we have seen in detail. Now, in today's lecture, furthermore, we'll be understanding the international trade policies and with respect to trade policy, various institutions that are into existence. The trade policy aim at protecting the domestic industry from competition of advanced countries through imposing the quotas. So various quotas have been imposed, and with this particular concern, what we are looking for, every nation, every country is looking for protecting the domestic trade. So whenever we are conducting the activities of imports and exports, at every point of time, we have to see that the domestic environment, the domestic country is not been harmed at any point of time, and the proper environment has been provided to the domestic exporters or the importers, the manufacturers also, and the suppliers also. So simultaneous control on the competition also needed to be maintained at every point of time. The competition is also available from the domestic market, that is from your local produce or local traders, and the competition is available from the international players or the Western players also. For example, if you want to purchase a shoe, then the shoe is available of Bata also, and the shoe is available of Nike also. So in this way, what we have to do, this particular production or the manufacturing activity or the traders has to also look for the product should be provided in which the competitive environment is given for both the traders who is domestic player and the trader who is an international player. And an understanding of trade policy enables MNCs to formulate their strategies regulatory, entering into conduct and business in various countries. So if a particular country or an MNC wants to enter into market of different countries, then the strategies that are needed to be adopted, the international trade gives you certain information. The various agencies or the agreements that are available at this particular point of time, they give you certain information about how trade has to be conducted, how activities are needed to be undertaken, and how you can undertake those particular activities. So in this way, the international trade activities have been governed, controlled, and regulated by the various trade policies or the instruments that are available in the global market or the international market. Various instruments of the trade policies are such as tariffs, subsidies, import quotas, voluntary export restraint, and the administrative policies. Now let's look at one these policies in detail. So what is the major concern? Understanding of the term tariff. Tariff refers to the tax imports on imports which has been imposed on the imports of the goods and services. So if at any point of time, you as an individual customer or you as a particular trader or a manufacturer or a supplier, if you are importing any type of material, whether it is a raw material or whether it is a finished goods. So if you are importing any type of material into your economy from the foreign economy, then at this particular point of time, the government charge you a certain sum of money. And this particular certain sum of money is called as an taxation perspective. So a taxation is a particular tax which is a direct tax or an indirect tax. Now at this particular point of time, when the government is charging you on either the raw material or either on the finished goods, it is called as an indirect tax perspective, wherein indirectly the government is not taxing you, but your company is getting taxed at this particular point of time. So you as a particular trader, you don't pay a certain sum of money as a tax, but your firm, it has been registered, the firm has to pay a certain sum of money to the government. So at any point of time, any type of goods and services, it is being imported, then that particular amount is being charged by the respective state government or the central government. And this particular amount that is being charged by either the state or the central government is called as an tariff. Tariff are further classified into two types, that is specific tariff and ad valorem tariff. Specific tariff is levied as a fixed charge for the each unit of a product that has been imported. So if you are importing certain goods and services, and for this particular concern, if the government is charging a certain fixed rate of interest or a fixed sum of an amount, then that particular fixed sum of an amount is called as an specific tariff. Ad valorem tariff, ad valorem is levied as a proportion of the value of the imported goods, is called as an ad valorem. So example, 30% of tax on the value of goods imported. So it depends on the what amount or what quantity or quality of goods that you are importing. Now here I'll give you a simple example to understand what is the specific tariff and what is the ad valorem tariff. Now specific tariff in the sense, for example, if you have the government has given you a certain concern with respect to the import of gold. Now wherever you are importing or bringing gold into the Indian economy or from the international airport or from the port trust, the government has given you a certain concern that 2% excise will be charged on tariff, or will be charged as a tariff on gold import. So this particular 2% is on the gold import. So it is a called as an specific tariff, a fixed charge that has been made available by a government. So whatever the amount of gold that you are bringing, whatever, whether it may be 1 gram, 2 gram, 10 gram, 5 gram, or 1 kg, 2% of the valuation of this particular gold will be charged and tax for you, or it will be charged as a tariff for you. In addition to it, now in addition to it, for example, the government has made a certain additional clause that if your amount or the valuation of goods is exceeding 10 lakhs, or if the valuation of the quantity of the gold that you are importing is exceeding 100 gram, then additional 1.1% will be charged as an additional tax on these particular goods and services. So now here, if your valuation or if your total transaction value goes above 10 lakh, or if your valuation or the quantity of gold is above 10 gram, 100 gram, then what will be concerned? The case will be that is 1% additional amount will be charged by the government on the valuation of this particular gold. So now what taxes are you paying? For example, if you are importing 250 gram of gold, so in case of importing of 250 gram of gold, what will be the situation? Entire 250 gram will be charged at 2% additional. Now, for example, if now another condition, the late that is in terms of your quantity. Now, in terms of your quantity, your standard quantity that was given by the government, or limitation that was given by the government is 100 gram. So up to 100 gram, there will be no exemption for you. There will be no tax for you, and it will be totally exempted. But above 100 ग्राम, अगर आपका गोल्ड का क्वांटिटी 100 ग्राम के ऊपर जाता है, तो जितना वो अमाउंट आपका ऊपर है उसके ऊपर आपको चार्ज लगा, टैक्स लगने वाला है. Now your total quantity of gold that you are importing is 250 gram. So whenever 250 gram that you are importing, now up to 100 gram it is it is not taxable, it is exempted. So remaining, that is 250 gram minus 100 gram, it is remaining 150 gram. So the government will charge additional of 150 gram at the rate of 1%. So the tax that you will be paying on this particular concern will be on entire 250 gram at the rate 2%, and on remaining 150 gram at 1%. So 2% forms the specific tariff and 1% forms the ad valorem tariff. So in this way, the government is charging you a specific and ad valorem tariff while charging a certain goods and services. Now, this amount can be in terms of your percentage also. So percentage in the sense that is, for example, if your total imports was 250 gram, so on 30% of your exports, or 30% of your imports, or 50% of your imports, and so on. Now, if I say to 50% of your imports, now what was your valuation of a particular gold? The gold valuation was 250 grams of gold that you are importing. Now, 50% of 250 gram will be 125 grams. So on 125 gram, the government will be charging you 1% of additional excise duty. So this particular additional excise duty will be on 125 grams. So in standard terms and norms, in the example number 1, it was 150 gram at the rate 1%. And in the second example, in terms of percentage, it will be 125 gram at the rate 1%. So the goods and services, the rates, the taxes, the amount, the quantity, it always keeps on changing. Now, why the government is charging tariffs for this particular concern? The major essential perspective is just to generate the revenue and to control the imports into the particular economy. Now, why we want to control the imports, or why the government wants to generate the revenue? So now at this particular point of time, whenever you are importing a certain goods and services, but it is but natural that whatever the goods that you will be importing, जो कुछ भी मटेरियल, जो कुछ भी गुड्स आप इंपोर्ट करोगे, वो आपने डोमेस्टिक क्वालिटी के हिसाब से एडिशनल अच्छी क्वालिटी के होंगे. नाउ इफ एडिशनल और डोमेस्टिक और दी good quality products are coming into your economy, what happen? It is a direct relationship or a direct link that you have a better standard of living, you have a better standard, you have a better income power, and you have a better expenditure pattern also. So आपके पास अगर पैसा ज्यादा है, अगर आपकी standard of living अच्छी है, if you have additional money and if you are ready to pay, then the government takes that money from you and it is being charged in terms of your tariff perspective. So for importing certain goods and services, the government is charging you an additional sum, and that particular additional sum is called as a tariff perspective. Second situation, in order to create or generate the revenue for the government. So there are various different types of sources of revenue generation for a particular state or the central government. So tariff is one of the various perspective wherein the government is providing you a certain facility. what are those particular facilities? अगर आपको आपका goods import करना है तो import करने के लिए आपके पास sources कौन से हैं? You can import these particular goods from railways, you can import these particular goods from airways, or you can import this particular goods from roadways, or you can import this particular goods from seaway. So sea, railway, road, airways, and another ways. So in these ways, different types of ways are made available. So now, for example, airways. So if a particular airway you are importing these particular goods and services, government has provided you an international airport. So for development of this particular international airport, the government needs a certain term of revenue. That's why, so in order to generate this particular revenue, the government is charging you on imports. And next thing, in terms of your roads, if you want to import this particular goods and services by roadways, then the government has provided you a certain facility of road, and the government collects the taxes or the imports in terms of your toll or toll plazas that are made available on the highways. Next thing, through the railways, the government has provided you a certain platform wherein various stations has been provided. You can approach that particular station, you can load your material, and you can take back your material, and the delivery of the goods and services can be transferred from one location to another location. At the same point of time, if there are railways are also available, the government has established tracks, they have to build the wagons, they have to maintain those particular railways, they have to bear the expenses of the diesel or locomotive engines and so on. So in this way, what happened, the government has provided or is controlling the railways also. If you want to import the certain goods and services by shipway, then for shipping also, the government has provided you or given a certain port trust. So you have to approach that particular port trust. The government has given you a ship, the international borders. That is, if you want to transport the goods and services from Indian Ocean to Pacific Ocean to Atlantic Ocean, so there are international borders, international transactions that you need to take. The permission from the international agencies is also needed to be obtained. And in this way, the government is the mediator. So for this undertaking or conducting or controlling all these transactions, the government is charging you a certain sum of money, and that certain sum of money is recovered in terms of tariff, which is a direct tariff or an indirect tariff, and a direct tariff wherein it has been imposed on the importing of goods and services. Benefits of the tariff, government of the importing country gets the import duty, as I have already explained here. So the importing benefit of the importing country. So अगर आप goods and services India में import कर रहे हो, तो what will be the benefit? The benefit will be to the Indian government. So Indian, you will be paying the taxes, you will be paying the import duty, you will be paying the excise duty to the Indian government, and they will be getting a certain source of revenue. Industry of the importing country is able to sell the goods at a cheaper rate than the imported goods. So at this particular point of time, what is another benefit? If a particular industry is importing these certain goods and services, then it can sell those particular goods and services at a very cheaper rate or better or its own profit margin. So if the particular goods and services are being imported in a bulk quantity, then you have to save a certain sum of money, and at a simultaneous point of time, the amount that is also being saved and the goods becomes more cheaper. Jobs in the importing country are also being saved. So how the particular jobs have been saved? Now, if the particular goods and services have been imported, you are employing the International Airport Authority, you are employing the railways also, you are employing the roadways also, you are employing the seaways also, and so on. So in this way, at every point of time, each and every concern, each and every participant member is also getting benefit out of it. Now the rates of tariff across the globe. So average tariff rates on the manufactured products. So whatever the goods and services that you want to manufacture, what is the rate that is being charged by the different nations? USA, that is in the year from 1990 to 2011, what are the various changes in the tariff rate? So here at this particular point of time, you can see in terms of the developed nation. Now USA, UK, and France, all the three are developed nations. What they have done, they have come at a certain position. They have made a certain policy wherein the rate of tariff is same throughout these particular countries. That is, USA in the year 1990, it was 4.8. Now it is revised to 3.9. UK, it was earlier, it was 5.9. Now it is again 3.9. France, it was 5.9. Now again, it is revised to 3.9. So now the data of the 2021 is yet to be published, and accordingly, we can see that what are the various revisions in the rates policy. So depending on the nature, depending on the type of goods and service that you are importing, the government is changing their tariff rates. Trade barriers and company strategy. So there are various trade barriers that are into existence, and with this particular concern, the company has to change their policies respectively. So as per the trade barrier, whether it is a direct trade barrier or an indirect trade barrier, at every point of time, the government has to take into consideration the foreign market conditions, the demand and supply, the provision for the national security, and accordingly, the firm decision for the import or export is been taken accordingly. producing certain components or parts of the products in the host country and export to the foreign countries. So at this particular point of time, if the government wants to increase a certain term of revenue, so what they can do, they can reduce the certain concern with respect to the trade barriers, and accordingly the rate of the taxation can either be increased or decreased, locating the manufacturing facilities in the host country rather than exporting the product. So if the government was to control or bring in a certain concern wherein the exporter also needed to be controlled in simultaneous consideration with the imports, then what they can do, they can provide the manufacturing facilities in the host country or the domestic country itself. So अगर सारी facilities अपने पास ही available है, सारा raw material अगर आपको इंडिया में मिल सकते हैं, so what we can do, we will not go to the different nations and we will not go for an obtaining a certain consent wherein you will be importing the goods and services. So in these ways, simultaneously, we have to see that we have to provide, the government has to come forward and they have to see that proper environment is being provided at the local level, national level, and accordingly, the environment is being feasible or suitable at the domestic concern. Now, the concern of the European Union, wherein a particular trade association was been formed, and wherein you can see that at a particular point of time, the trade barriers have been reduced by EU. Earlier, the olden or the historical name of the European Union was ECSC, that is European Coal and Steel Community, which was formed in the year 1952. That is, EU consists of the three organizations, that is ECSC, EEC, European Economic Commission, and Euratom. So these three companies, these three organizations has come together and they have formed a certain major thrust or a major composition, and that particular composition is called as an European Union. So hence the composition of EU is into existence. Next, with respect to the trade association, now another trade association is in form of NAFTA, that is North American Free Trade Agreement. So all these particular member countries of the North America, they have come together and they have formed their own association in order to promote the business activities. So NAFTA came into force in the year 1994 with the most affluent nations of the world, that is USA, Canada, and Mexico. So these particular countries or nations came together and they have formed their respective own regional agreement, and this particular regional agreement, or the specifically it is called as a cartel, it is called as a cartel, that is a NAFTA association, that is North American Free Trade Association. Objectives of NAFTA: to create the new business opportunities, particularly in the area of Mexico, which was an undeveloped or the underdeveloped nation. So in order to develop this particular nation, in order to develop this particular area, NAFTA was given a certain advantage to enhance the competitive advantage of the companies operating in the USA, Canada, and Mexico. So at this particular point of time, in order to compete, in order to bring a certain feasibility in terms of the production, import and exports of goods and services, exchange of transactions, the NAFTA came forward and they have specifically focusing on these three nations, that is USA, Canada, and Mexico, to improve and consolidate political relationship among the member countries. Now, at this particular point of time, you need to understand that whenever this particular NAFTA came into picture, what happened? Any goods and services, any transaction that has been conducted between USA, Canada, and Mexico in terms of the NAFTA agreement is completely tax-free or it's completely duty-free. तो यहाँ पे आपको कोई भी टैक्स नहीं लगेगा. अगर यूएसए, कनाडा और मेक्सिको, ये तीनों कंट्रीज में कोई भी गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज आइदर इंपोर्ट किए जाते हैं या आइदर एक्सपोर्ट किए जाते हैं, whether the goods and services are either imported or exported, exchange of these goods and services only in these three countries is completely tax free. So this particular trade agreement has come forward, and what due to this concern major benefit आपको यहाँ पे क्या मिलता है? If you need any of the goods and services, now what is the particular concern? Now take this example. Now whenever you are importing 100 grams or 250 grams of gold, what you are doing, you are paying either 2% or 3% of the tax to the government. Now if you are importing the particular goods and services from your trade association or the trade associated countries, then this particular 2% or 3% is waived off. आपको tax pay करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So for example, if a particular vendor or if a particular trader, now I'll give an example. For example, Bhargavi is sitting in USA, that is California, और उसको कैलिफोर्निया में बैठे बैठे 250 grams of gold मंगाना है. That is, she want to import 250 grams of gold in California. So at this particular point of time, if there is no situation of NAFTA, what will be the condition? She has to pay 2% or 3% of the gold or the import duty, and then only she can import these particular goods and services from the particular country. Now, for example, Bhargavi approaches Indian economy, and Bhargavi approaches, for example, a particular trader in India, and she wants to import these particular goods from India. So what will be the importing duty? The importing duty will be 3.9%, as you have seen in the earlier slide, and the tax will be charged at 3.9% of the 250 gram of gold that she is importing. But in reverse situation, Now, what will be the situation if the agreement is in terms of NAFTA, that is North American Free Trade Agreement? So what Bhargavi has to do, Bhargavi, if she approaches, she's from USA, that is California, and if she approaches a particular trader or a particular vendor from either Canada or either from Mexico. Now, from USA, Canada and Mexico are the friendly nations. They are the form of the NAFTA trade agreement. So in this way, whatever the tax that she was paying to India, that is 3.9%, it will be completely waived off, and she don't have to pay any importing or the tax duty. So this is the benefit of the NAFTA concern. Clear at this stage? Now, the next perspective, the ASEAN. ASEAN, that is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. A group of 6 countries, that is Singapore, Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia, agreed in the year January 1992 to establish a common effective perennial tariff plan. So these particular nations, जैसे आपका नाफ्ता था, वैसे Southeast Asian nation came together, and they have established their own group, they have established their own cartel, and in the year 1992, the ASEAN came into picture. Next thing, the formation of ASEAN enabled the member countries to have closer coordination and so on. So to benefit the member countries, to benefit the member nations, the ASEAN came into picture and they started to mutually conduct those transactions. So जैसे आपका NAFTA के trade agreements थे, वैसे ही similar position में you can see and you can identify that NAFTA is also existence and ASEAN is also into existence. The next association, that is SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So the member nations for the SAARC are India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, which has established the SAARC on the year December 1985. Major objectives: to enhance the self-reliance of the member countries and to enhance the cooperation between the developing countries. So ये सारे countries जो आप देख रहे हो वो सारे developing countries है, that is India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan. So जो सारे Southeast Asian countries, they came forward, they came together, and they formed their own cartel. So any of the business activity, any of the transaction that has been conducted in these particular member nations only for the specific products. Now, this particular transaction can be for the specific production also. Now, for example, India and Sri Lanka. Now, for example, अगर आपको टी का मैं import करना है, now Sri Lanka is good in manufacturing of tea. So at this particular point of time, if you want to import tea, then what are the various options for you? For importing a particular concern of tea, you can approach Europe also, you can approach Japan also, you can approach USA also, you can approach South Africa also, and you can approach Sri Lanka also. Now, the rate of the importing of a tea is different for different nations. यूरोप का रेट अगर आप देखोगे तो वो 4% है, जापान का रेट इज अराउंड 9%, यूएसए रेट इज 3.9%, साउथ अफ्रीका रेट इज एट 11%, whereas श्रीलंका रेट इज एट 5%. Now, at this particular point of time, if you approach a particular member nation of a particular SAARC, then it is an agreement signed between the SAARC nations, that is India, Bangladesh, ये सारे member nations ने एक particular agreement sign किया है, and in this particular agreement there is a certain clause कि if any member country is exchanging or importing and exporting the goods and services, the tax rate, the tax duty will be at maximum of 2%. सो ये मेंबर नेशंस क्या है, मेंबर नेशंस को अगर कोई भी गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज इंपोर्ट या एक्सपोर्ट करना है तो आपकी मैक्सिमम इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी सिर्फ 2% रहेगी. Now, if you are going to purchase the tea, that is, you want to purchase or import the tea from Europe, you are paying the export duty at 4%. If you want to go for Japan, it is 9%. For USA, it is 3.9%. For South Africa, 11%. For Sri Lanka, 5%. If you are importing a certain goods and services in terms of a normal trader, the normal trader will go and pay the tax duty to Sri Lanka at the rate 5%. But if you are approaching as a member nation of SAARC, कि अगर आप इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू अगर उसको रिप्रेजेंट करते हो, इफ यू टेक द प्रॉपर परमिशन फ्रॉम द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, फ्रॉम द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स, then what happened? The Ministry of External Affairs give you a certain certificate that yes, this particular trader, now this particular trader in sense that is Bhargavi, ये Bhargavi एक particular lady है, she is having her business in India and we don't have any objection for importing the goods and services from Sri Lanka. So जैसी भार्गवी को एनओसी मिलता है फ्रॉम मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स, व्हाट हैपेंड, शी इज सर्टिफाइड एज अ मेंबर ऑफ सार्क. सो जैसे आप मेंबर ऑफ सार्क सर्टिफाइड हो जाते हो, देन नाउ व्हाट विल बी द टैक्स ड्यूटी दैट यू हैव टू पे. नाउ इफ यू आर इंपोर्टिंग दैट tea from Sri Lanka, the tax that you have to pay is only at the rate 2%. In normal terms and conditions, the rate of taxation is at 5%. लेकिन जैसे आपके पास सार्क का सर्टिफिकेट आ गया, जैसे आपको मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स ने एक सर्टेन एनओसी दे दिया, then you have to pay the tax rate as 2%. So this is the difference between the forming of a cartel or forming of a group, and understanding the international trade transactions. Clear with everyone? Any difficulty at this stage? Yes, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Let's continue. Now going for further, factors contributed for the growth of MNC. So what are the various factors wherein the growth of an MNC gets established and it is affecting the growth stage at every point of time. Now moving with the respective company specific expansion of the market territory. So here at this particular point of time, you have to see that an MNC. Now, for example, we have taken Bhargavi as an example. Now, if she want to continue her business, so how this particular business can be expanded. So considering this particular slide, now if now at this particular point of time जो हमने earlier example देखा था उसमें benefit क्या था? Bhargavi has approached the Ministry of External Affairs. Bhargavi has approached the central government of India and she has taken a certain permission for importing the goods and services. Now, whenever she was importing these particular goods and services, her tax rate or tax duty has saved from 5% to 2%. That is 3% of tax has been saved of Bhargavi as an MNC or as an importer. Now, at same point of time, Bhargavi, which is situated in India, if she approaches Bangladesh, if she approaches Bhutan, Pakistan, Maldives, Nepal, and so on, if the member countries have been established, what happens? It creates a market territory expansion. So, आपका business क्या होता है? Different countries में, different territories में, step by step expand होता है. चलता है. So if at another situation, if Bhargavi wants to import cotton, if she wants to import dal, if she wants to import pulses, if she wants to import rubber, if she wants to import wheat, so at every point of time she will approach the member countries, she will save her tax duty, and accordingly the goods and services will be provided, and the benefit for the domestic producers and the domestic benefit for the member countries will also be provided. Market superiority. Now, how this particular situation it is been provided. Now, whenever particular trader approaches you in terms of your import and export, what happen? While exporting certain goods and services, you always export a good which you always export a goods and services which is of a standard quality or a standard norm. So these particular norms have been provided either by the FDA, that is Food and Drug Authority, or international FDA that is into existence. So based on this particular concern, either the provisions given by the World Health Organization or the various ILO, that is International Labour Organization, and so on, you have to take those considerations. And according to the market requirement, according to the industry standards, according to the global standards, you have to provide the quality products. So आपके पास जो होता है वो contribution to the growth, how it is possible, the quality products are made available for you, and you become a superior trader into the international market. Financial superiority. Now, the simple example you can understand that whenever Bhargavi, as a particular individual trader, when she was approaching Sri Lanka for import of tea, her tax rate was 5%. Now, if she has approached from the central government, she has taken a certificate of SARC. What happened? Her tax rate is at 2%. So what she is doing? She is saving the tax rate at the rate 3%. So 3% is the saving, and accordingly, the financial superiority is being provided for the trader or the manufacturer or the MNC as a particular company. Product innovation. With the help of this particular concern, you can approach different nations, you can approach different countries, and accordingly the quality product can be made available for you. So explore of the market, various n number of opportunities are made available for you, and accordingly you can increase the quality and quantity of your products. Now, the number of MNCs which are dealing in international trade or international global transactions having the worldwide presence. In terms of USA, you can see that there are 139 MNCs which is having presence across the globe in all the nations. So world के सारे countries में USA के 139 companies है having a presence in all the countries or all the nations. आपको 139 companies ऐसे मिलेंगे जिनका presence सारे countries में है, सारे nations में, and the goods and services are being exported at across the globe. Japan 71, China 46, France 39, Germany 37, UK 29, Switzerland 15, Netherlands 13, Canada 11, Italy 11, and so on. So the list goes on accordingly. Here you can see the number of MNCs having the business across the globe. Now, the world's top MNCs among the world's largest 500 MNCs in 2010. So according to the global ranking, what is the ranking of the world 500 MNCs of Indian companies? So Indian Oil, it is having 125th rank, Reliance Industries 175, which is again reduced, and it has been at the 94 or 96th rank. SBI 282, Bharat Petroleum 307, Hindustan Petroleum 355, 354, Tata Steel 410, ONGC 413, Tata Motors 442, and so on. So this is the rate of 2010, and in the year 2020, again all the rates has been revised, and every year the global 500 companies MNC list gets updated, and it is being published accordingly. Now, the next organization, that is IMF, that is International Financial Management. Now we'll understand the financial management system that is into existence. So let's see each and every concepts or perception in detail. So at this particular point of time, the major concern we have to understand, it is with respect to the World Monetary System. The World Monetary System, we have to understand, in the olden days or the older scenario, there was a certain concern wherein the goods were exchanged for goods, wherein it was a system of an barter. Later, after barter system, there was a system of the coins, wherein the coin of the either gold, silver, bronze, metals, steel was being used, and accordingly the exchange of goods and services was being undertaken. After a point of time, whenever there was a certain limitations for the silver and bronze, so after a point of time, only gold and silver coins was into existence, and later after a point of time, it was been found out gold and silver is also having a certain limitations, and no proper liquidity can be maintained in terms of gold and silver coins. So again, there was a certain situation, and the foreign exchange risk movement came into picture, wherein every country started to develop their own currencies, and now at this particular point of time, every nation, every member country is having their own currency. This particular currency, that is international finance management, it is with respect to the valuation of your own currency and your denomination. Okay, for example, when we say the currency of India, it is in terms of rupee. Whenever we say the currency of USA, it is in terms of dollar. Whenever we say the currency of Australia, it is ASD, that is Australian dollar. Whenever we say the currency of Japan, it is JPY, that is Japanese yen. Whenever we say the currency of European Union, it is EU or the euro. So in this way, every country is having its own currency, and the financial transactions are being conducted only in terms of the currency perspective or the respective specific currency. This particular currency was in the year 1940, 50 or the 60 onwards. The major currency that was being traded, it was a sterling pound, and it was in terms of euro. But after a point of time, what happened? After the Bretton Woods conference, it was been observed, it was seen that one denomination currency, one dominating currency was needed to be established, and accordingly, a general proposal was being passed in the Bretton Woods, and the dollar was being accepted as the global currency or the international currency. So in this way, various multinational companies came together, and they also started to adopt a certain currency regime, and the exchange rate regime came into picture. So after a further point of time, from the year 1980 onwards, various organizations, various trades, various industries started to develop, and the banking industry also started to develop day by day. Due to this concern, the exchange of goods and services, exchange of currency transaction also started to be taken up, and the business started to grow simultaneously. Indian economy, the major benefit for the Indian economy as a certain perspective was only after the year 1991, wherein we have established and we have passed the new economic policies, and the policy of liberalization, privatization, and globalization was passed, and the establishment of WTO, that is World Trade Organization, was set in the year on 1st of January 1995, which is helping all the nations, all the member nations across the globe. Now, the major perspective of understanding of balance of payment. Since many lectures you must be saying this particular concern or the particular concept is what is a balance of payment. So a balance of payment is a double entry system of recording of economic transactions between the residents of a country and the rest of the world carried out in a specific period of time. सिंपल टर्म्स में इफ आई वांट टू एक्सप्लेन यू बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट, जैसे आपके कंपनी का, जैसे आपके घर का खुद का बैलेंस शीट होता है, वैसे एक पर्टिकुलर कंट्री के बैलेंस शीट को कहा जाता है बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट. सो a balance sheet of a particular country wherein all the transactions of the member countries, all the transactions of the traders, all the transactions of an individual, it has been considered that particular record of transaction or the balance sheet of a particular country is called a balance of payment. Now I'll just give you a severity of understanding. बहुत ध्यान से सुनिए, बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट आपको अंडरस्टैंड होना बहुत जरूरी है, because the valuation of GDP, valuation of GNP is completely dependent on balance of payment. I'll give you example. For example, Mac Enterprises. Now Mac Enterprises एक particular company है जो एक particular student है, that is Mr. Ashwin Gohotre. उसने एक particular company establish की थी, and that particular company was named and registered as Mac Enterprises. Now when this particular company was being registered, how many members was there? There was only one employee or one person who was controlling this particular company. After a point of time, what happened? He has hired 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. After a day in and day out, for example, as on today, the company's strength is 15 employees. So ये सारे 15 employees का जो transactions है, कितना मटेरियल आया था, कितना मटेरियल चला गया, इंपोर्ट कितना हुआ, एक्सपोर्ट कितना हुआ, गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज परचेज कितनी किए, आपके लाइबिलिटी कितना है, आपका कैपिटल कितना है, what are your fixed assets, current assets, and so on. So what is this particular concern? One individual person, that is Mr. Ashwin, he came forward, he started his own business. The business has been increased to 50 people, 15 people, and accordingly the balance sheet of a particular company, it has been maintained. And based on this particular balance sheet, you can see that unka balance sheet tally hota hai. That is, for example, capital 1 lakh, current liability it is 50,000, other liability it is 50,000, and the balance sheet is tallied at 2 lakh. In terms of your assets, the asset valuation is, for example, your fixed assets are at 1 lakh, your current assets is at 50,000, and your other assets or the core current assets is at 30,000, and other assets are at 20,000. And in this way, your balance sheet is tallied at 2 lakhs. One company has a particular concern, that is Mac Enterprises, और इनका balance sheet tally होता है 2 lakhs पे. Now what is the concern or severity of balance of payment? Just आप सोचिए balance of payment में क्या है? The economic transaction between the residents of a country. What is the population of India? Population of India है 135 crore, that is this billion. So 135 billion या 135 crore people जितने भी transactions करते हैं, उनके transaction की value, just imagine what will be the valuation. So the valuation of the transactions of 135 crore people in terms of import, in terms of exports, ये सारा consideration कहाँ पे आता है? ये सारा consideration आता है balance of payment में. So balance of payment is a double entry system of record of all economic transactions. Whenever I say all economic transactions between the residents, so between the residents यानी ये जो सारी इंडिया की population है, that is 135 crore. 135 करोड़ पीपल कितना इंपोर्ट करते हैं, कितना एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, कितना मटेरियल आया गया, लाइबिलिटीज कितने थे, एसेट्स कितने थे, ये सब का रिकॉर्ड कौन मेंटेन करता है? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इज मेंटेनिंग द रिकॉर्ड ऑफ ऑल दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शंस, एंड इट इज बीन स्पेसिफिकली मेंटेन ऑफ ऑल द ट्रांजैक्शन अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड, नॉट ओनली इन इंडिया. वर्ल्ड में कि अगर आपने कुछ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज यूएस से इंपोर्ट किया, अफ्रीका से किया, यूरोप से किया, जापान से किया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया से किया, नाइजीरिया से किया, सऊदी अरेबिया से किया, यूरोप से किया, कहीं से भी करो, सारे ट्रांजैक्शंस आपको सारे 135 करोड़ पीपल का ट्रांजैक्शन मेंटेन करना है. एंड मेंटेनिंग ऑफ ऑल दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन इज कॉल्ड एज एन बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट. This is the thorough introduction or the brief introduction of balance of payment that you can understand. Now going further, what does a balance of payment includes? Is this slide visible for you? Balance of payment
Yes, sir.
includes. So, now the balance of payment includes all the receipts on account of goods exported, the services that have been rendered, the capital received by the residents, the payment made by the residents to the goods imported, and the services received from the capital transferred to the non-residents. So, सारे transactions with respect to your receipts, यानी जितना भी पैसा आपको आता है या जितना भी पैसा आपका जाता है, services rendered. Now, what is a particular service rendered? Now, for example, if you are exporting certain goods or services, so you are providing the services to a particular importer. कि अगर आपका एक पर्टिकुलर वेंडर है, जो आपका वेंडर बांग्लादेश में बैठा है, या आपका एक पर्टिकुलर वेंडर नेपाल में है, या आपका एक पर्टिकुलर वेंडर साउथ कोरिया में है. So what you are doing, you are exporting certain goods and services, and you are providing the services to him, that a particular goods which is available in India, you are making it readily available in either Bangladesh, Nepal or South Korea. So आप क्या कर रहे हो? आप उसको goods and services दे रहे हो. So in this way, what happened? Your goods and services have been rendered. So your money is going out of the organization, or the money is coming into the country. So all type of receipts, all types of payments, all types of capital account transactions. Now what are those capital account transactions? Capital account transaction है जिसकी valuation 10 लाख के ऊपर है. If any transaction value goes from a capital consideration wherein it is been either been converted into your current into your fixed assets or into your current liability. So this particular amount is called as an capital receipts. So capital received by the residents. So एक particular resident है, ये ऐसे हमारे residents कितने 135 crore. So 135 crore, whatever the receipt that they are getting, whatever the payment that they are making, whatever the imports that they are doing, whatever the export that they are doing, whatever capital they are taking, whatever the capital they are giving, all types of payments and receipt transactions of a particular country of each and every individual resident is the component of balance of payment. So balance of payment is such a huge and a wide perspective, and it is completely prepared by the Ministry of Finance. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस, आरबीआई और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स सब लोग इकट्ठा मिलकर आपका बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट ट्रांजैक्शंस मॉनिटर करते हैं और कंट्रोल करते हैं. Items of balance of payment. So what are the various items which forms the composition or the participants of your balance of payment? In my earlier lectures, you must be very frequently or very occasionally listening to the various components with respect to the balance of payment. So the various components of the balance of payments are, first thing, the current account, the capital account, the unilateral payment account, and the official settlement account. Out of these concern, आपको 3 account compulsory याद रखना है. First thing is the current account, second is the capital account, and third is the official settlement account. Unilateral payment account is only this particular type of account which is concerned with the government transactions. But current account, capital account और official settlement account में आपके regular traders के regular individual के transactions आते हैं. Now let's see the individual accounts in detail. What is a current account? It includes visible exports and imports and visible items like receipts and payments for various services like banking, insurance, transportation, tourism, travel वगैरह 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 सारे transactions आपके current account में आ जाएंगे. जो कुछ भी पैसा, whatever the amount which is either of a receipt nature or either it is of a payment nature for any type of goods or any types of services. Now here exports and imports, just imagine the severity and just imagine the expansion or the huge wide perspective. पूरे इंडिया में and across India there are 135 crore people. जितने भी 135 crore people, कितना भी import कीजिए, कितना भी export कीजिए, कितना भी पैसा आपको receipt हो, कितना भी पैसा आपको payment हो, any type of the goods that you are bringing or any type of those services that you are doing, ये सारे transactions आपके कहाँ पे आएंगे? All the value of this particular transaction are being reflected into your current account. It includes, so entire all transactions are being included, and it is included of whom? It is just included of an single individual. सिंगल इंडिविजुअल, जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया था भार्गवी व्यवहारे, शी इज अ पर्टिकुलर लेडी, शी इज कंडक्टिंग हर होम ट्रांजैक्शन. सो जैसे हमारे पास भार्गवी वन लेडी है, ऐसे हमारे पास कितने लोग हैं? 135 करोड़ जो हमारी पॉपुलेशन है. ये सबका ट्रांजैक्शंस आपका करंट अकाउंट में रहता है. Now the examples or the complete detailed explanation with respect to the debit of the current account and the credit of the current account. So आपके debit side में क्या आएगा और credit side में क्या आएगा? What is the particular concern of a debit? That is the amount that has been going out of your organization, and the credit is the amount that you are receiving. So in this way, the various components of participants of the debit account and credit account. Next perspective with respect to the capital account. Capital account is divided into private capital, banking capital, and official capital. So in this way, capital account में सारे company के transactions आ जाएंगे. In this particular capital current account is related to an individual. Keep in mind very clearly. Current account किसका है? Current account is a transaction of receipts and payment of exports and imports of an individual or a single person. Capital account is a particular account which maintains the transactions of corporates or businesses or MNCs. So जो सारे companies है जो registered है under the Indian Companies Act 1956, इन सबके transactions, whether it is a private capital, banking capital or official capital, सबके capital transactions. Now these transactions will be also same in terms of receipt, same in terms of payment, same in terms of export, and same in terms of import. ये सारे transactions with respect to a company will be displayed or will be shown in a capital account. Private capital with respect to the foreign investment, long-term loan, and foreign currency deposits. So whether it is a short-term requirement, whether it is a long-term requirement, आपका capital private कितना है? अगर for a particular individual, एक particular manufacturer है, अगर उसका कोई company registered है and this particular company is bringing in certain money, he is taking a certain foreign investment or he is giving loan to a certain perspective, और if जिसका जो कुछ भी currency transactions है, ये सारा आपका capital account में आ जाएगा. Bank capital covering the movement of your capital and of the assets and liabilities of the commercial and cooperative banks. Now just imagine what are the number of commercial and cooperative banks in India. सिर्फ अगर आप SBI देखोगे तो SBI के more than 5,000 to 10,000 branches है. ये सारे branches मिलके एक अगर बैंक आप consider करोगे, there are n number of branches in India. N number of types of banks: scheduled bank, non-scheduled bank, commercial banks, non-commercial banks, cooperative banks, public sector banks, private sector banks. डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स, thousands ऑफ बैंक्स वी आर अवेलेबल. सारे बैंकिंग ट्रांजैक्शंस आपके किस में आ जाएंगे? इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर कैपिटल अकाउंट. प्राइवेट अकाउंट में क्या था? प्राइवेट अकाउंट में आपके सारे इंडिविजुअल कंपनीज थे, सोल ट्रेडर्स थे. बैंक कैपिटल में क्या आ जाएगा? बैंक कैपिटल में सारे बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री और बैंकिंग सिनेरियोज. Official capital will be comprising of all the Reserve Bank of India transactions. So whatever may be the payment that has been made by either the central government or the state government. So central government or state government पे सारे transactions. So what you can imagine, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट यानी गवर्नमेंट अगर कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट अंडरटेक करता है तो उनके ट्रांजैक्शन की वैल्यू कितनी होती है? ऑलवेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्रोर. कि अगर आपको फॉर एग्जांपल एक रोड बिल्ड करना है, द रोड और द मेट्रो प्रोजेक्ट और द बुलेट ट्रेन, the bullet train that has been built from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, इसका कॉस्टिंग कितना है? 40,000 करोड़. तो ये 40,000 करोड़ सिर्फ आपका एक प्रोजेक्ट का वैल्यूएशन है, और वो प्रोजेक्ट का वैल्यूएशन कौन पेमेंट कर रहा है? 50% बाय द स्टेट एंड 50% बाय द सेंटर. दैट इज स्टेट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र एंड स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात आर मेकिंग द पेमेंट. सो दिस पर्टिकुलर पेमेंट विल बी रिकॉर्डेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर ऑफिशियल कैपिटल अकाउंट. वैसे ही हमारे पास स्टेट्स कितने हैं? सो 29 स्टेट्स इन इंडिया एंड द सब स्टेट्स, दैट इज दादरा एंड नागर हवेली वगैरह वगैरह, ये जो हमारे दमन एंड दीव, ऑल दिस पर्टिकुलर कंसर्न. सो स्टेट टेरिटरीज एंड द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. सो ये सारा का ट्रांजैक्शन आपका ऑफिशियल कैपिटल अकाउंट में आ जाएगा. सो इन दिस वे, reasons for deficit in the capital account. So what happened at this particular point of time? Either you may have a positive balance or either you may have a negative balance. So a positive balance in either of your capital account, the current account, is called a positive balance is a surplus, and the negative balance in your capital account or the current account is called as an deficit. In terms of the international trade transaction, in terms of the monetary transaction, in terms of the government valuation, आप हमेशा प्रॉफिट और लॉस नहीं कहते हो. अगर आपका कैपिटल अकाउंट या अगर आपका करंट अकाउंट पॉजिटिव है तो उसको सरप्लस कहा जाता है. अगर आपका करंट अकाउंट या कैपिटल अकाउंट नेगेटिव है, उसमें अगर बैलेंस नेगेटिव में जा रहा है, तो व्हाट इट इज सेड, इट इज कॉल्ड एज एन डेफिसिट. सो इन दिस वे देयर इज अ सर्टेन सिचुएशन ऑफ आइदर द कैपिटल अकाउंट और करंट अकाउंट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव. Next thing, unilateral transfer account. Unilateral transfer account in this, wherein you are giving a certain gift to a particular transaction or to a particular company. Gift in the sense, for example, I'll give you a small example. Now, Myanmar, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, ये जो हमारे सराउंडिंग कंट्रीज है, तो सराउंडिंग कंट्रीज में हम क्या करते हैं? ना फॉर एग्जांपल व्हेन आवर ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी, now when he is visiting a certain nations, what we are doing, we are offering gifts to certain countries or certain nations. कि फॉर एग्जांपल अगर कल बांग्लादेश में कुछ आपत्ति आती है, इफ देयर इज अ सर्टेन नेचुरल कैलामिटी इन बांग्लादेश, सो व्हाट वी डू, वी प्रोवाइड द फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस. 10,000 करोड़ का हम उनको फैसिलिटीज करते हैं, 10,000 करोड़ का हम उनको बेनिफिट प्रोवाइड करते हैं. सो दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन वेरिन वी आर गिविंग द फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस टू दी मेंबर कंट्रीज. अगर हमने किसी मेंबर कंट्रीज को, मेंबर नेशंस को या मेंबर स्टेट्स को अगर कुछ फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस दिया है, तो दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शंस विल बी रिकॉर्डेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर यूनिलैटरल ट्रांसफर अकाउंट. ये कंप्लीटली रिलेटेड टू द गवर्नमेंट है. Now, for example, another example, that is in terms of now what Narendra Modi has decided or declared कि in terms of your COVID-19 pandemic situation, 10,000 करोड़ का या 10 लाख करोड़ का फाइनेंशियल बेनिफिट वो सारे स्टेट्स को प्रोवाइड करने वाला है. So what? New Delhi, that is the central government of India, is providing 10 lakh crore of benefit to the states. तो हमारे states कितने हैं? 29. So 10 lakh crore divided by 29, whatever may the value, और ये value वो गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रही है? आपको एक बेनिफिट दे रही है, आपको एक दान दे रही है. So this particular benefit or this particular donation, it will be recorded in unilateral transfer account. And lastly, the official settlement account. Official settlement account में specifically आपके सारे foreign currency transactions आ जाएंगे. The foreign currency transaction with respect to your transaction of either the dollar currency, euro currency, yen currency, pound currency, Australian dollar currency, Korean currency, all type of currency transaction with respect to the foreign reserves will be recorded in official settlement account. डिसइक्विलिब्रियम इन द बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट. आपका बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट जो आपका एंटायर सिनेरियो है. नाउ व्हाट इज द बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट? बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट इज अ कंपोजिशन ऑफ करंट अकाउंट, कैपिटल अकाउंट, यूनिलैटरल पेमेंट अकाउंट एंड ऑफिशियल सेटलमेंट अकाउंट. सो इन दिस वे ये सारे 4 अकाउंट मिलके आपका बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट बनता है. और इसमें डिसइक्विलिब्रियम, व्हाई देयर इज अ सर्टेन सिचुएशन दैट योर बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट अकाउंट इज आइदर पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव, इसमें प्लस माइनस क्यू होता है. सो दीज आर दी 5 major concerns, that is economic factor, development disequilibrium, cyclical, secular and structural. what are the various major methods or measures for correction of disequilibrium in balance of payment? ऑटोमेटिक करेक्शन, या तो वो पर्टिकुलर सारे कंडीशंस ऑटोमेटिक सेट हो सकते हैं, या यू कैन टेक डेलिबरेट मेजर्स. सो द मेजर्स कैन बी टेकन आइदर बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और द इंटरनेशनल association that are into existence. So deliberate measures with respect to the reduction in the money supply, devaluation, exchange control, or export promotion measures. So these are the various measures. You can go back and study the entire thing in detail. Now India's balance of payment crisis. Now at this particular point of time you can see and understand that major balance of payment crisis हमारा कब था? In the year 1990. Now whatever the foreign reserves जो हमारा करंट अकाउंट, कैपिटल अकाउंट, ऑफिशियल सेटलमेंट अकाउंट और यूनिलैटरल पेमेंट अकाउंट सारे निगेटिव में थे. All the four of accounts of Indian economy was in the negative balance or negative situation, जहां पे हमारे बैलेंस पूरे जीरो हो चुके थे. There was no single money available with the central government. So for this particular point of time, it was a major setback to the Indian economy, and only for this particular concern, what we have done, we have opened our economy in the year 1991, and this particular economy is called as a new economic policy. अगर आपको कोई भी पूछता है, the father of the new economy, the person who has removed the Indian economy from the balance of payment crisis is Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was the ex-finance minister in the year 1991. He was the finance minister in the year 1991, and he has given a certain conception or the certain position wherein the development of new economic policy was been given, and our Indian economy was being opened up in four perspectives or three perspectives, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So thank you so much for attending this particular lecture. With this, we come with the end of today's lecture. Thank you. Okay, I'll be sharing the link of attendance with you. Please hold on for a minute. If you have any difficulty at this stage, you can please unmute yourself and can ask your questions. I hope the balance of payment is clear for everyone, each one of your student. Still, if you have any difficulties, please ask. Understanding the balance of payment from international trade is of utmost importance. Current account, capital account, official settlement account, and unilateral payment account. Positive balance in the balance of payment is called as a surplus, and negative balance in the balance of payment is called as a deficit. इंडिविजुअल कंपोनेंट आपका इंडिविजुअल भी होता है, दैट इज करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट, कैपिटल करंट अकाउंट सरप्लस, कैपिटल अकाउंट डेफिसिट, कैपिटल अकाउंट सरप्लस. So in this way, at every point of time, you have the balance of payment, and overall calculation of this particular scenario is called as a balance of payment crisis. Attendance 0909 11:30 AM. Don't leave. I am sharing the attendance. You have to mark your attendance. Add question, choice 0909